One night was enough to dismantle laws that had ruled an empire for 300 years. Not with armies, not with bloodshed, but behind closed doors, in silence, through intention. On that night, power changed its shape, and the Ottoman Empire would never be the same again. History remembers Süleyman as the Magnificent, a conqueror, a lawgiver, a ruler of 3 continents. But history is careful with its silences. It speaks loudly of battles and treaties. It grows quiet when power moves through private chambers rather than public squares. It rarely admits that empires can be redirected not only by swords, but by proximity, by influence, by the quiet intelligence of someone who understands human weakness better than law or tradition ever could. This is not a romantic story. It is not a legend of love. It is the story of how one woman, born without status, without protection, without freedom, restructured the deepest foundations of imperial power by breaking rules that were never meant to be broken, and it all crystallized on one wedding night, the world she entered. To understand what truly happened, we must first understand the world Hurrem Sultan entered. When Süleyman ascended the Ottoman throne in 1520, the empire stood at its zenith. Constantinople, now Istanbul, was the axis of the known world. Trade routes from Asia, Africa, and Europe converged there. Wealth flowed in every direction. Law, religion, and military discipline held the state together like bone and sinew. But the empire's strength did not come only from conquest. It came from rules, unwritten. Ancient rules designed to control ambition before it turned into bloodshed. There were 5 such traditions governing women and succession. First, 1 concubine, 1 son. A woman who bore a prince was never touched again. This ensured no mother could dominate the dynasty through multiple heirs. Second, no sultan married a slave. Marriage was diplomacy. Concubines were temporary. Slaves could not become queens. Third, the imperial harem was physically and politically separate from governance. Women were kept away from the machinery of state. Fourth, rank inside the harem was rigid and unchangeable. No invention, no elevation beyond precedent. Fifth, women did not participate in politics. Not openly, not privately, not indirectly. These rules were not moral. They were practical. They existed to prevent civil war, and for centuries, they worked until Hurrem, the girl before the empire. She was born Alexandra Anastasia Lisovska in Rewrote, in what is now Ukraine, the daughter of an Orthodox priest. Her life was small, local, ordinary. Then it ended. Tatar raiders took her village. She was captured, sold, and transported through the slave markets of Crimea. Her childhood disappeared somewhere between chains and transactions. By the time she reached Istanbul, she was no longer Alexandra. She was property, but even as property, she was being assessed. Her red hair made her rare. Her intelligence made her dangerous. Hafsa Sultan, Süleyman's mother, noticed both. Hurrem's training was relentless. Language, poetry, music, court etiquette, theology, psychology, silence, observation, survival. The harem was not a pleasure house. It was a school for power. Most failed. A few survived. Only one mastered it. She was renamed Hurrem, the joyful one. The name was misleading. Süleyman and the first breach. Süleyman was not a brute ruler. He was educated, introspective, poetic. He wrote verses under a pen name. He believed in order, justice, balance, and yet, like all men in power, he was human. When Hurrem entered his life, she did not compete with beauty alone. She offered something: rare presence, conversation, emotional attunement, psychological understanding. She did not flatter him blindly. She mirrored him, and slowly, the first rule broke. Hurrem bore a son, then another, and another. Each birth was a violation. Each child shifted the center of gravity. Other women were set aside after one prince. Hurrem was not. Mustafa, born of another concubine, was quietly sent away to govern a distant province. His mother, Mahidevran, lost her footing. The court noticed. So did the Grand Vizier, Ibrahim Pasha. He warned the Sultan. Süleyman listened and ignored him. Strategy, not seduction. It is tempting to describe Hurrem's rise as seduction. That is the lazy explanation. Seduction fades. Influence does not. Hurrem understood timing, vulnerability, and fear. She understood that power listens when it feels understood. She became the place where Süleyman could think aloud without ceremony, without threat. Over time, counsel replaced intimacy. Intimacy became strategy. foreign envoys noticed before Ottoman chroniclers dared to write it. Decisions changed tone, priorities shifted, and the empire began to move, subtly, differently. The second breach, marriage. No Ottoman sultan had married a concubine since the 14th century. Marriage was symbolic, political, dangerous. Hurrem wanted it anyway. First, Hafsa Sultan died. Officially, illness, quietly. Questions lingered. Then Ibrahim Pasha fell from favor, the Sultan's closest friend executed. Without warning, with obstacles removed, Hurrem made her demand. Security, marriage. The solution was technical. She would be freed on paper before the ceremony.